guys, and welcome back to Fortune Theory. So here we are again for episode 3 of Loki with
Okay.
Patrick and Oliver.
How you doing?
Sup?
Sup? we will never have a normal intro. It will just be us trying to not be
It
socially
would be
awkward
so
on a call.
unorthodox because I'll be just waiting for. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That
Right.
pretty much said it all, didn't it?
Right.
Yeah, brilliant.
Right.
Trying to talk and someone just talks over all the
That'll
time.
always be the case.
Yeah.
This is
Fuck off. Yeah. So.
literally we just proved the point. Episode 3 of Loki. What did you think? It has literally come out today. Oliver.
I thought. I don't know. I literally one of the first things I read was that it wasn't the best, but it was really important. I thought I kind of got a bit of a vibe of that, but at the same time, when I watched it, like my opinion, I feel like people expect so much from Marvel now, and like everything they do, they to a point where their minds are so clouded by it, they'll think every piece of work they produce is a gem, and that can't change. It can never be bad. But to be fair, they've got to add more credit to them for that. They do know what they're talking about. They do know what they're doing, and they never miss a detail or get it wrong. And they'll go out their way effortlessly to put Easter eggs in that everything, every context, every reference, every hint of what's going to come. And like this episode of Loki was definitely there was definitely a shift change. I could feel. You almost feel like you know that this lady Loki Sylvie, as she goes by officially, is not so much a villain. She's more like it's like this is like that part in a natural narrative where the two lead characters and like one's male, one's female, or however they're going to play it, they come together and they've got like, oh, I'm just using you so I can get this, and then the other one's like, well, I'm using you until I get this, and sort of thing. And then at the end of it, they become like friends or allies, and they have to work together to stop somebody or something like that. Like it I kind of had that vibe a little bit from like where things were going with it. And obviously there's been all these like rumors and plot speculation about how like the TVA is going to be exposed for something, you know, as something a bit more sinister, and like it's not complete truth and whatnot. And maybe they're the true bad guys or something, and this lady Loki's like not. The Sylvie is like not. And she's got like their reset charge thing, and then Loki ends up basically destroying it when he's like he's holding it in with his magic. Then like he has to use his magic to save himself and ends up destroying the machine. So they're like trying to find a ways to fix the machine and recharge it first. And they're trying to like, well, this is before he breaks it. And then obviously they pretty much figure that they've got to almost break the timeline, even though it's an apocalypse and nothing would happen anyway, just to escape. And then the episode ends with the ship being destroyed, and then you just have Sylvie walking away, like they're gonna die, and it's just one long shot, Loki, and then the episode ends. Pretty much, is pretty much exactly how it plays out. Like that. Obviously, we didn't get Mobius in this episode. It was more of a sort of Loki on Loki one-on-one kind of episode. I almost had this like weird vibe between them. Like they're both the same person, but obviously two different versions of that person that exist. Like the two Nebulas and the two Thanoses in Endgame. And it was almost like they were flirting with each other at one point, or like almost on the brink of that, because they were talking around the table and they were getting to know each other, and it's like is that you were a prince on Asgard, there must have been like princesses or a prince, like touching on like Loki's like non-binary kind of self, because obviously in the comics he's like, for those who don't know, he does change genders in the comics, not as a sex change per se, it's more of like a persona sort of thing, as he's a non-binary character. That's why we've got this female variant, um, who's like another embodiment of him and like the form that she's chosen to take. And she's like, "Oh, I got a postman waiting for me once this little escapade is over, and like, who have you got waiting for you?" And then Loki's like, "Well, I don't really have," but he doesn't say it. But basically, he doesn't have anyone because no one like likes him like that. But like, I think he's got to this point where for him it's like, he even says it's like love is a fiction, you like a dagger that stabs you, but then it's not actually there, you know.
And then the terrible
It's
play
not
on
real.
words joke as well. It's like
Yeah,
Meteor dagger. Bad metaphor, isn't it?
yeah, really hurts.
But it was a it's one of the
Yeah,
like
I
you
don't
said it
think he
was
mind.
it was one of those episodes that was very one-on-one with Loki. And
It was
obviously,
almost like a chance for them to, like, fall in love with who they are as people, just
hmm,
by getting to know each other, like, you know, Loki would love himself more for the experience of knowing this other version of Loki being Sylvie, and then same from Sylvie's perspective. And there was that weird moment where, like, Loki's singing in a different language, and I don't know what was the name of the planet they were on? It was, it's even the name of the episode as well, Lamentos or something like that, I think it
Lamentia,
was.
Lamentos. I can't even remember.
Lamentis or Lamentos?
Lamentis one,
Or something like
Lamentis one. I think it might be that.
Lamentis 1, yeah.
I think it might be
Yeah.
that.
See, me as a Marvel fan, I should know this, but I'd never actually heard of the location. No, I was like, okay, well, this clears up all like the Vormir speculation that it was going to be Vormir and that was Black Widow. I guess that was all like just,
You see,
you
this
know,
is why always good for the
everyone's like,
micro
that
detail.
was the
I'm just good for
gobsmack
the
moments for the
micro.
trailer.
You're always good for the little bits of detail only the fans will know, and I'm here for the broader, the broader perspective of it. That is just
I'm
like,
here for why people are here. You're here for the science of it, which no one gives a shit about.
arguable.
Apart from, the nerds who already know
I'm not
half
even
the
here for
shit
the
we're going to
science. I'm
talk
just here
about.
for the general. These are your episodes mainly as the Marvel fan, and then obviously we both go into detail of what we thought of it. But yeah, going into what I thought of it, just generally not even my opinion of this. Obviously, it was just that it was almost like a filler episode, which I didn't actually think it was going to be. Going off of episode 2 and how that literally the very end of that, I thought we were gonna go into the next big thing. But then, of course, it was a more of a like a sort of what like we mentioned, one-on-one with, and obviously because of how the story's going and how the plot's going, there being basically two Lokis and Loki trying to stop Loki. It's a way to have a
It's not
one-on-one, because if there wasn't any time variant, if it wasn't a plot about going back
TV.
and forward in time, it would just be Loki by himself. But it is that it's just that it's obviously Loki with another version, because it's like his past self kind of thing, which is obviously the
But it's
ability of
not, it's,
not even past self. It's just like another version, isn't it? Properly, obviously,
well,
being
it's just,
portrayed as
it's
Sylvie.
another version of Loki from another, like, like how in Endgame where they travel back in time.
Yeah.
It's like that, but
Right.
like that's a variant of Loki that's you know flared off and gone between different timelines and areas in time.
Mm.
Um, in the main MCU timeline, has become this female Loki, as she likes to call herself, Sylvie, which is actually a reference to the second person who became the second Enchantress in the comics. This is not the DC, by the way. There was a Marvel character called Enchantress. Yeah, the second version of the Enchantress character from the comics, a massive Thor villain. Um, Also had like a sort of slight crown on her head, blondish hair.
Mm.
Had the name Sylvia. I can't remember the last name, and was in green. And yeah, pretty much obvious by the name of what she can do.
Well, in this,
She was
she
just a major Thor
just
villain.
is. Yeah, she's the main. I mean, obviously, it was pointed out at the end of episode 2 that she obviously like wasn't the main villain really at all. She is almost like the next. But because I mean, Loki isn't even the protagonist in this show really. He's basically an anti-hero in this. He's become an
Yeah,
anti-hero
yeah.
basically, and
He's transitioned from that villain. Like in episode 1, it's like that sort of minor villain status. Um, in opposed to like say the how the TVA treat him.
hmm.
Specifically, I want to say C-20, but I'm probably completely wrong. Fucking hell, it sounds like a bomb or grenade. It sounds like some sort of like weapon grenade sort of shit, doesn't it? No, the big female character um who who initially arrests him
Right, right.
in the first episode.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I mean, because I didn't think this episode was going to be that
can't remember.
short. I remember looking at the first time I looked, I was like,
Yeah,
wait, what?
I
32
remember saw
minutes
the
left?
credits of it.
What?
I was like, yeah,
I was like,
I was like,
these
I
episodes
was
have been
watching
about
it. I was
15
watched
minutes
that
long.
end part.
I mean, given what obviously the story was for this one, it was all that was needed. Them trying to get off a planet that the Loki we've been following, and just drop them on after the first fight, and then ending with that like very I knew every single TV series or film now, mainly TV series, tries to incorporate a long take in some way. And the moment it was like 30 seconds in, I'm like,
because of how popular they are.
yeah, it's just become this thing like that. Like every series or film, it's mainly every series now. It's like the challenge is, are they going to do a long take? And well, from the standpoint of the beginning
I
of it,
love them in Daredevil.
oh,
Daredevil ones are never
they're
disappoint.
amazing. The ground
All three
groundbreaking.
seasons, they had that one episode for that one scene of a purpose long take,
Hmm.
and they never failed. I think season 3 was probably like, ultimately the best out of the 3, but I think my favorite out of the 3 has got to be the cult classic in the second season almost. I
Hmm.
know that doesn't sound right to say as a cult classic, but to me it was like that's like one of the best ones.
I mean,
Just going down the
the
stairs and the elevators
as
and
soon as I
you know.
as soon as you start a long take, at the moment I'm like, okay, right, we haven't cut yet, please be because obviously the main point of any type of shot, I'm gonna go only ever so slightly into cinematography, like a minute at most, hopefully. There's obviously the very start of a shot, if you're gonna continue it, is the shot needing to continue without a cut? Is it being motivated in some way? Because there isn't. I might eat my own words in the future on this, but there's probably, but in my opinion, there's no need for a shot to continue unless there is motivation for it to continue. And that doesn't necessarily mean just like you can't, push in on someone and, let them carry on coming with the shot back again. That's fine, but
Well, it worked with the flow of what they were doing for that scene,
and
though, weren't they? Because
yeah,
everyone's like running about, they're being chased by the
it's
guards
the
and
final
whatnot,
like
and
two
like
minutes of chase.
they're
Like
fighting them, and the camera's
well,
like not having to
escape
cut
actually, not
between
chase.
character shots.
Mm,
Yeah, that sort of
it
thing. And then they
somewhat
get to the
worked.
ship, and instead of like cutting between shots, they literally simply pan the camera around a 360.
I did find that
And
there's a couple of moments within, well, actually a few moments within the shot that I felt like it was just a reason to be able to just do a bunch of crane shots on whatever set they were filming at and just go from like, let's pan from this bit to this bit to cut around to there. I was just like the inner like filmmaker and me going
well, that's
like,
them trying to be like weird slash creative with it, because it's
yeah.
like the vibe they're trying to get, and they did this in WandaVision as well. And I think they're semi doing it better with Loki, but only for the sense of it being more because he's mischievous and he's a villain, and he's. I think overall, it's my opinion as well. By the way,
Mm,
Loki's just a more popular character and more known at this point because he's been pre-established for 10 years now. Like they're just trying to really bring in this weird element to it to make it its own like original thing, and hoping that people will embrace the weird and like the weird. I
mm,
definitely
yeah.
do
I mean,
for it.
yeah, the only issue I had with the last shot is don't try to use a. Again, I might eat my own words in the future with this, and I probably have in the past from what I can't remember at the moment. But don't use. There seems to be a lot of, especially in that last shot, just using a certain technique for the sake of it. Not just broadly talking about the long take, but just in any sort of gear wise, but technique in a shot or anything to do with telling a story. It needs to service the story and actually serve the purpose of like that moment in the story and get you from A to B to C from during the scene. And broadly speaking, that did work as a scene. Like the entire time we were following them, and it works. And at the very end, it's sort of what's her name? Is her name Silver or Sylvia?
Sylvie.
Sylvie.
So you were wrong both times.
That's a good
You're
clip.
thinking of James. You're thinking of James Bond.
Yeah, yeah, Silver.
Um,
Um, I liked the episode overall. I didn't. It was basically a filler episode
be a
to
good James
introduce
Bond, to
her.
be think.
Skyfall was great. Yeah, yeah.
To say no, saying that though, like this episode, it's like they're going on the train, like explosions, fights, all that sort of stuff, and like they're having that one to one. It's like the sort of unlikely partnership,
Mm,
unwilling on her end, kind of a bit like what happened in Spectre, but like it's kind. It just gave me a lot of James Bond sort of vibes from it,
interesting. Yeah.
despite his extrovertedness. which
By the way,
just feels
is
very
that
odd. It
purely
feels really odd for Loki to be extroverted in the sense of just getting pissed and singing and
is that just purely because
but
of the train scene in Spectre?
no,
No, okay,
it's
fair enough.
just it's the dynamic between the two of them and
Okay.
like the race against time and
Yeah.
the sort of unlikely. She doesn't want anything to do with him, but he does her because he needs to like kind of protect her to protect himself, and vice versa,
Mm.
as it became sort of thing. And then like just there's a lot of scenes in it that just really give me like that sort of James Bond kind of vibe. I didn't really think about it until now, but yeah, looking back on it in my mind, I can see it.
Nice.
Like, let us know what you think. I could be completely off in
Mm.
that perspective of thinking,
Give
but
us your thoughts on
if
the
you've got
episode in
something
the
to say,
comments, yeah. And the link to watch Loki if you haven't already today. Episode 3 is finally out. What we're talking about in this episode, link in the description. Yeah, let us know what you think. And this is a
it was weird
actually it
because
might be a shorter
I
episode.
logged on to
It's
Disney
just a short
Plus.
video.
I logged on to Disney Plus when I first got up, and I looked on there and it wasn't on there, and I was like, "It comes out today. Where is
Where
it?"
are you?
And I had to reload like Disney Plus 4 times just to refresh it to be like, "Is it not on there yet?
What?
Is it on there yet?" I literally went away and I watched like a Fast Furious and 9 review. Just well, it wasn't even a review, it was like a binge, like it was what's it called? Entertainment Weekly binge of Sun Kang
Yeah.
talking about Fast and Furious 6. And I was just like I watched it for like 10 minutes and he's like, no offense, he's quite monotone, so I got really bored. I was just like come on, fucking Disney Plus, release it.
Mm.
I will watch the rest of this later because I just want to watch this now. Um, but yeah,
There we go.
finally came out, so it's available. I kind of
Blood.
people are gonna hate me for this, but I've literally had insomnia last night. So when I did watch it, I had a few like,
A few
but for like
drifting
split
moments.
seconds when I was a few drifting moments when I was like falling asleep
So tired.
and
You're
half
making me
awake.
tired. Just think about it. Anyway.
Yeah, and so I will be watching it again. And if you want more info on the episode, we will discuss it along with episode four's episode next week
Mm-hmm.
as well. And we've just had an announcement today that from Loki onwards, obviously all our Disney Plus shows will now be released on Wednesdays. I don't know if that's true or not, but from the report, it seemed pretty logistically. But for anything we do say that does end up becoming like re- reconfigured in a statement that's released later on,
Mm.
but we do apologize in advance because these videos are pre-recorded to the alternative announcements that say otherwise. As we found out, Morbius is not in the MCU,
We
but we
aren't
don't
your
know if that's a
official
cover up
news
or not now.
source,
So
so
yeah, not so take everything you as Cosmic Wonder says, or whoever it is that says it, one of the other podcasts is take everything you hear with a grain of salt. So
there
yeah,
we go. So as episode 3 of Loki, watch it,
it doesn't mean we're
everyone.
bullshitting.
Well, just
We
with a
see
pinch
what
of
we
salt.
find out, get it to you, and then yeah.
But yeah, that's episode 3 of Loki. Watch all the episodes up to episode 3 from Wednesday the 23rd of June. I sound like some sort of reporter now, but
But we've got 4 more. Well, I don't know if they're going to cut it in week five's release because that will be the release. That'll be the week Black Widow comes out on the Friday. So I don't know if that's why it is on Wednesdays or if they want to save it for a week so it doesn't overshadow Black Widow or
not
vice
sure.
versa.
We'll find
Um,
out.
so
Yeah.
we'll find out. So it may be a few extra weeks, but then once this is over, we've got What If, which is the animated Disney Plus show based
Mm.
on alternative takes on events that have happened prior in the MCU. So hopefully people will watch that, still acknowledging the fact that it is technically set in the MCU, and it would be Chadwick Boseman's final official performance as T'Challa's Star Lord
Wow.
instead of Black Panther in
Nice.
the MCU as well through the voiceover dubs, which he did before he tragically passed away.
Mm.
So it'd be a nice tribute to him as well. And I do believe Tom Hiddleston's in the series as well, or at least characters linked to Loki will be, and events linked to what Loki's been the causality of, shall we say, as Vision says in Civil War. So yeah, we'll see what happens with all that. But yeah, until the next time, we'll catch you guys on Friday for our main episode, which is True.
Endgame? Yes. I just went mind
Endgame.
blank. Like
So
it.
yeah, sequeling our Infinity War episode from a few weeks ago, we're going to get into Endgame. So hopefully there'll be a few links there with like what we've talked about with Loki. And don't worry, we'll be back in our main like new bulk recording setting for that as well.
Yeah.
So we'll shut up and we'll see you then.
Enjoy the episode if you haven't already. Links below, and we'll see you guys on Friday. Thanks for watching.